Everywhere is dark. Let me give myself a bit of light. Okay. Welcome to class. Welcome, 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 everybody. So I'm just waiting for everybody to come around. I'm going to do exactly 20 minutes. If there's any of my Bible readers in the house, I would love them to be present. Buki Shot, Buki Sonyaolu, anyone that reads Bible for me normally, that knows how to quickly. Esther Omori, how are you doing? J-Lo, if J-Lo you're available, I'd like you to read Bible for me. You're very good at this. I'm looking for, I don't want to stress this lady too much because I used her yesterday. Anybody that's, I usually like using abroad women. And the reason why I like using abroad women is because their network is always good. I love abroad women because they always have data. Their lighting is good. Let me be the one that doesn't have good data and good lighting. You understand? So welcome. Who can help? J-Lo, are you in the house? Don't send me a request if you are not a Bible reader. If you have never read Bible for me before, don't just bother. Don't send me a request that will stress me. If you cannot help me, don't stress me. That's my motto. If you can't help, don't stress me. So, how are you doing? Yes. How are you all doing? No Bible readers. Is Buki Sote in the house? Buki Sonyaolu. Anybody that knows Josh Esek, how are you doing? Any of my abroad women that read Bible for me normally. Rockefeller, how you doing? Today I want to talk about rapture and why rapture is not a Christian doctrine. It was added later on. And, you know, as per my style, I will explain to you how everything started. Oju baby, do you know how to read Bible? I've never tried you before. But I don't mind trying you for the first time. Let's see if this can make you work. Where are my usual suspects? I need somebody to help me. Oju, at the office now. Can you try? Where is Buki Sanyaolu? Can somebody please help me get in touch with Buki Sanyaolu? Anybody who can? Buki Sanyaolu. Oju baby, can you help? It's not going to be too hard. 'Okay, so Oju baby, let me try. Women usually have softer voices. 15 minutes. I'll be done in 15 minutes, JLo. I'll be done in 15 minutes. I don't want to waste too much of your time. Or anybody's time for that matter. I just want to do this quick because I talked about it yesterday. And quite a few people didn't quite understand. It was a big conversation. All I just need is 15 minutes. If I can get 15 minutes, then I'm good. Is Kamorudin here? I never see Kamorudin. That's strange. Is Kamorudin here? Okay, very good. I just wanted to make sure you're fine. Ifeisi, how are you doing? So, what are your thoughts about the rapture? Let me tell you my personal experience with the rapture. I hadn't heard about the rapture because I was Catholic and I don't know the Catholic doctrine that well to know if there's rapture. I don't think there's rapture in the Catholic doctrine. I'd never heard of the rapture before. I think I was in SS2, and then some guy came to preach it to me, and it scared me so much that I started crying. I was afraid that the world was going to end, and they really preached that when rapture happens, blah, 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 blah. And I panicked. That's my first experience with it. I'd never heard of it before. I think I was SS2. I was born Catholic. My dad didn't tell my mom's family that he was Muslim. And even if he did, he didn't make it look like a big deal until we came to Nigeria. When we came to Nigeria, they now made us start going to the mosque and all that. It was a good experience. At the end of the day, I won't lie. It was quite a. Clean your lens. Oh, okay. How are you doing, my darling JLo? Thank you for bailing me out. I'm fine. I'm at work. Well, just. Thank you so much for bailing me out. Hold on.
What was that yapping me now?
Nobody will yap you. Daniela.
So where do you want me to read?
Just be with me. I'm not going to stay long. So I was telling them my experience with the rapture. I had never experienced, I'd never heard of it before until I was in like SS2. So the very first time I heard about it, I was worried. I started crying because it scared me that what's going to happen to us. The guy told Olojede, I don't know if his name was Larry or something like that, Olojede, if I remember clearly. I used to call him Ologede, but his name was Olojede, you know, in secondary school. And he scared me so much, and I was, oh my goodness, oh yeah. And I believed that there was a rapture until I started studying Christianity. I started studying scripture. Now, when in the Free Nation we have what is called the Lucifer doctrine or the light doctrine, that is when your world is turned upside down. When you realize that the devil was never Lucifer, and the only time Lucifer was mentioned in the New Testament, it was in reference to Christ. What does that mean? Everything you've been taught is upside down. I don't know if you understand the significance of that. So when you have that, you now start questioning everything. And scholars, a lot of scholars are divided over who started Christianity. Some people say everybody knows it, Christ didn't start any religion. Christ didn't start Christianity. But scholars are divided. Who started Christianity? Was it Paul? Was it after Paul? I believe Paul started Christianity directly or indirectly, because it is the confused teachings of Paul, the Shekusheye teachings of Paul, things Paul had no authority to establish that he established, that created that vacuum in Christianity that allowed politics to come in. Because if you read Acts chapter 15 and Acts chapter 21, Paul had no authority to tell Jews to stop circumcising or circumcision. And when the problem was tabled before the elders, because when Paul and Barnabas stood up to the preachers from Judea, those ones did not agree with Paul and Barnabas. And Paul and Barnabas did not have the authority to take that decision. So everything was referred back to Jerusalem. So Paul himself had to submit himself to the authority in Jerusalem under elders like James the Just. And what left that day showed that there is still a difference between Jew and Gentile. The Jews were still under the law. Acts chapter 15 and Acts chapter 21 proves this. Let me tell you, I lost 100K bet to one guy that has one leg. I had to pay him the 100K. I was on a live one day. I said, the Jewish Christians never paid tithe.
And what's nothing in there?
I said Jewish Christians never paid tithe. The guy just quoted Acts chapter 21 for me. As I saw it, I just knew. Because they were under the law. And if tithing was part of the law, and Christ in Matthew 23 said to Jews that they should pay the tithe according to the law, then even Jewish Christians paid tithe. The only thing is, Gentiles never paid tithe. Because the only law that was given to Gentiles were 4 things. Stay away from immorality, do not consume blood, do not eat strangled animals, and do not eat animals offered to idols. Those were the only 4 rules that were given to us Gentiles. Tithe no dey among them. You understand? Because for you to even be able to pay tithe, you have to be under the whole law of Moses. Okay, Remy is here. Fantastic. Also, let Remy join too. Just be in the background. Anytime J-Lo is tired, she can go. I'm trying to rush through this. I hope I get through this. So, Paul was teaching that the Jews are not supposed to be under the law anymore. But you see, he didn't have the authority to do that teaching. So when he was brought before the elders in the church of Jerusalem in Acts chapter 15, he was sent with a delegation and a letter back to Antioch of Syria to explain to the believers there that these are the only 4 laws that are available for non-Jews. I'm sure if you followed Free Nation, if you don't get distracted with our gossip and our gist, I'm sure you are aware of this fact. Remy, this thing I'm saying, is it new to you?
My son.
This thing I'm saying, is it new to you?
No, dear.
So Paul had no authority to teach many of the things he was teaching. And Paul never stood on one side. His name alone is a problem. He was both Paul and Saul. He started answering Paul, not when he had an encounter with Christ, but when he had an encounter with Sergio Paulus in Acts chapter 13. Paul did not change to Saul, did not change to Paul. Oh, don't let anybody deceive you. That is part of the foolishness that they market to you as Christianity. When you have an encounter, Saul became Paul. This is not stupid nonsense. Paul was Saul all along. But when he went to meet Paulus, he changed to Roman. Paul, at a point when he wanted to be flogged, they wanted to flog him. He said, you know, I'm a Roman citizen. You cannot flog him. All of a sudden, he's a Roman citizen by birth. Then he's a Jew by birth. Then he's a Roman by birth. When it is convenient, he knew how to play the Roman card and the Jewish card. So the problem with Paul is Paul never took a stance. Today he will take this stance. Tomorrow he will take this stance. Next tomorrow he will stay. He said, let me give you an example. He said, when I'm with the Jews, I behave like a Jew, and when I'm with the Gentiles, I behave like the Gentiles. It's like saying when you are with Boko Haram, you behave like Boko Haram, and when you are with Nigeria, you behave like Nigeria. If you behave like Nigeria and Boko Haram catch you, they will buy you. If you behave like Boko Haram and Nigeria catch you, they will buy you. You cannot be the two. It's not possible. So Paul started what we have as Christianity. Now we also need to understand that Paul was educated. Paul had understanding of scripture. He had understanding of the law. So Paul's writings were poetic sometimes, and the biggest problem we have as Nigerians is we choose when we want to read poetry or prophecy from scripture, and we choose when we want to read it literally. But when you have taken time to study scripture, you will understand. And that is why I am so adamant to point out the mistakes in the Bible, which at the end of the day are not mistakes, but they are mistakes because you are turning them to science. The book of Genesis is faultless. Just like Animal Farm is faultless. It is telling a story. But did God really create the world in 7 days? Absolutely not. The time, once you take it and you make a science out of it, then you are in trouble. Because then you are going to tell me 6'1", IQ 156, that this earth was created before the sun. That plants were created before the sun. When you start doing that, then I realize that you are stupid. No need for us to have a conversation. But when you sit down with people that have taken time to understand the poetry of the Bible, and you see that it follows a sequence of poetry, you will begin to appreciate and understand the literary device being employed. I love some people think I don't like the Bible. I love the Bible, but I don't love the way your pastors are interpreting it. Your pastors are interpreting poetry for science. That is how Satan became Lucifer. Oh, how you have fallen from heaven, oh Lucifer. He was talking about no other person than the king of Babylon. If you read Ezekiel chapter 22, it speaks of the king of Tyre, and he uses, you were the guardian angel. He uses imagery that will make you think that he's talking of an angel. But then you need to understand that God once referred to Nebuchadnezzar as his deputy. So you have to find that line between poetry and reality. And until you can find that line, the Bible will always make no sense except what you want it to make to you. So, getting to the rapture, how did the rapture begin? I want you to go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, Remy. Or both of you, whoever can.
What verse?
Just open all of 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. Hold on a second. Hello.
NLT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good evening, my sister. How are you doing? I've been very good. I'm live. Can I call you in like 15 minutes? All right. All right. Ahem. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. I want us to go there. And are you there, NIV? Let me open it.
I thought you said NLT.
NLT is fine. My own Bible is hanging. I want to see what the best. Read verse 13 to 18.
Jayla, do you want to read?
Okay, let me read that. 13. And now, dear brothers and sisters, we want you to know what will happen to the believers who have died, who have died, so you will not grieve like people who have no hope. For since we believe that Yahushua died and was raised to life again, we also believe that when Yahushua returns, God will bring back with him the believers who have died. We tell you this directly from the Lord. We who are still living when the Lord returns will not meet him ahead of those who have died. For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a commanding shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet call of God. First, the believers who have died will rise from their graves. Then, together with them, we who are still alive and remain on the earth will be caught up in
That
the
caught
clouds
up.
to meet
That
the Lord in
that
the air.
caught up. Sorry, let me quickly address that. That's verse 17. That caught up is where the problem started from. You're going to read that again.
Okay.
The word, the Greek Bible uses hapagesometha, meaning caught away in the clouds. Nephalis, caught away in the clouds. Continue what you are reading. Sorry for distracting you. You were on 17.
You're muted, Jayla.
Do you want me to read 17 again?
Yeah.
You want me to read 17 again?
Yes, 17 and 18.
Okay. Then, together with them, we who are still alive and remain on the earth will be caught up in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. Then we will be with the Lord forever. So encourage each other with these words.
Now, there are many words they will use. It will be raptured, snatched up, caught up. The biggest problem we have is when people start taking the Bible literally. But you see, where did this start from? Have you heard of a guy called Darby?
No.
You've not heard of Darby? Paul is very good at what you call mixed metaphors. He knows how to paint pictures, how to create imagery. Remember, he was very educated.
Yeah.
So he's creating an imagery. He talks about the Lord coming down, something similar to the descent of Moses coming down. When he's talking about the caught up or the snatching up or the catching up, is caught up he used, or the rapture, he's trying to explain with detailed imagery what happens after the persecution. He's trying to paint a picture in the minds of the people that, if not carefully assessed, will make us make decisions, literal decisions, on a metaphorical or allegorical context. The first time, I want you to Google, Remy, how Darby started the rapture. There was nobody had ever preached the rapture until Darby. Just Google how Darby started the rapture.
Oh,
Just
this
Google
form
it.
is a little bit tricky. All right.
Help me, J-Lo.
Fine.
Okay. Darby is D-A-R-B-Y, right?
Darby, yes.
Darby started the rapture.
Remy, get me Matthew 24 down.
Okay.
Okay, and it says, John Nelson Darby did not. When I typed how Darby started the rapture.
No, just type rapture. Okay, what did you call, what came up with?
It said John Nelson Darby did not start the rapture, but is credited with popularizing and systematizing the doctrine of a pre-tribulation rapture in the 1830s through
Before him,
dispensationalism.
before Darby, the rapture was a tiny little school of thought lost somewhere. There is, just Google Darby's niece. It was his niece that was sick. I'm trying to remember how the story went. His niece was sick, became better, and then said she had a dream about the rapture.
So should I say Darby's niece dream?
Darby's niece dream rapture. Let's see what comes up.
Dream rapture. Okay. It says the Darby niece dream rapture refers to the Margaret MacDonald's dream of 1830.
Thank you.
Which inspired John Nelson Darby to develop his pre-tribulation rapture theory, a concept where Christ removes the church from earth before the tribulation period. While Darby's theories gained traction, the idea of the rapture is a modern one that predates the early church and is not universally accepted among Christians. The dream's origin. A young girl's vision in 1830, a 15-year-old girl named Margaret MacDonald reportedly experienced a dream that provided a narrative for the pre-tribulation rapture. Darby's interpretation. The British preacher John Nelson Darby was influenced by this revelation, integrating it into his own theological interpretations. And do you want me to continue?
Just continue. I'm loving it. Are you not liking? Are you not seeing where all this madness started from?
Yeah, Darby's influence and the rapture theory. The first one, pre-tribulation rapture. Darby developed the theory that Christ will suddenly remove the church.
You know, there are two rapture stories. There is the pre-tribulation rapture and the post-tribulation rapture. What is the tribulation? That whole suffering, the Antichrist, people will not be able to buy 1,000 years. The book of Revelation is very strong. You see, here's why I fault the rapture thesis. Because the book of Revelation is very strong in the foundation of the rapture theory. But guess what? We now know that the book of Revelation is about Emperor Nero's tribulation. So if we are using the book of Revelation, that means the rapture has already happened. You understand what I'm saying? That means the rapture has already happened. If we are using if we are using, what's his name? Revelation as the background of the rapture theory, then rapture don't happen already. Who don't go. Who remain. We are in the post-rapture tribulation or in the post-rapture world. Because the setting of Revelation was the first 100 years. Me and Simply Vic did a full study on the book of Revelation, Emperor Nero, the influence of Emperor Nero on John of Patmos. Remy, please. Okay, you don't have Google. Google John of Patmos.
I do. It's not my phone, so it's hard navigating.
Okay, so let me not stress you. J-Lo, do John of Patmos.
1 minute, sir. Give me 1 minute, sir.
Remy, if you can, she's at work, so I don't want to overstress her.
That's right. John of
Patmos, as you hear it.
Right. Okay. Is it all right if I use Wikipedia?
It's fine, anything.
It says, so John of Patmos, also called John the Revelator, John the Divine, John the Theologian, is the name traditionally given to the author of the book of Revelation. Revelation 1 verse 9 states that John was on Patmos, an island off the coast of Roman Asia. According to most biblical historians, exiled as a result of anti-Christian persecution under the Roman Emperor Domitian. So, so John of Patmos says a Christian tradition has considered the book of Revelations right as the John the Apostle, though some Christian scholars since medieval times have separated the disciple from the writer of Revelation.
Because most people thought John that wrote Revelation. It wasn't John, it was John of Patmos, a different John, who expressed his pain. You see, before you join, what do I say before you join Free Nation? Which books must you read?
Animal Farm.
Animal Farm is number one. Because Animal Farm helps you connect with the imagery of what or how scripture is put together. It is not literal. He's talking about dragons and seven-headed monsters. Meanwhile, he's talking about political figures. He's trying to, you see, George Orwell tried to write about the revolution, communism, and all those things in Animal Farm without mention. Do you know he was wanted, despite the fact that George Orwell used metaphors and allegories to embellish his teachings. He actually was still wanted. They were still searching for him because what he did was give the people an insight into what could really happen. So the government did not want the government wanted the religion to control the people. They did not want you to have access to information. The easiest way to control the people is not allow them have access to information. J-Lo, Let me remove JLo as she's going. She's distracting us. They did not want you to have access to information. You see, Remy, you get waiting, you go no. They're not going to hold you again. Religion, politics, and all these things thrive on ignorance. The more ignorant you are, the easier you are to be ruled. The more woke you are, the more awake you are, the harder it is for anybody to rule over you or control you.
True.
Do you understand my logic? So they didn't want people to wake up. So John of Patmos now used wild imagery to talk about the government in such a way that unless you are able to decode that he's talking about the government, you will not know he's talking about the government. And the book was useful for that 100-year period as a form of escapism from the reality of the tribulation under Emperor Nero. It was not meant to be a perpetual book. It was not meant to be a permanent teaching. It was just meant for that period. But because of the lack of understanding, people have now turned it into perpetuity. Oh, this is how the world is going to be after this, that, and those. I don't know if I'm making sense to you.
Yeah.
So, the rapture story, Matthew 24, I don't know if we have time because I need to rush out right now. Matthew 24 is, let's just touch on Matthew 24 briefly. I don't know if you still have it opened.
I do.
Matthew, let me open it on my own phone so I can, Matthew 24, the whole of Matthew 24 also uses imagery of Yahushua trying to explain. Read verse 15.
The day is coming when you will see what Daniel, the prophet, spoke about, the sacrilegious object that causes desecration, standing in the holy place. Then those in Judea must flee to the hills. A person out of the deck of a roof must not go down into the house to pack. A person out in the field must not return even to get a coat. How terrible it will be for pregnant women and for nursing mothers in those days. And pray that your flight will not be in winter on the Sabbath, for there will be greater anguish than at any time since the world began, and it will never be so great again. In fact, unless that time of calamity is shortened, not a single person will survive, but it will be shortened for the sake of God's chosen ones. Then, if anyone tells you, look, here is the Messiah, or there he is, don't believe it. Verse 24. For false messiahs and false prophets will rise up and perform great signs and wonders so as to deceive, if possible, even God's chosen ones. See, I have warned you about this ahead of time. So if someone tells you, look, the Messiah is out in the desert, don't bother to go and look. Or, look, he is hiding here, don't believe it.
I want you to stop and go back to 9. In fact, not 9. Read from verse 5. We'll finish off another day because I have to rush. Read from verse 5.
This is for many, claiming I am the Messiah. They will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and threats of wars, but don't. These things must take place, but the end will not follow immediately. Nation will go to war against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world, For all this is only the first of the birth pains, with more to come. Then you will be arrested and tried. You'll be hated all over the world because you are my followers. And many will turn away from me, betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and will deceive many people.
So if you look at the imagery, sorry to cut you, my darling. If you if you look at the imagery of this, it's speaking about what seems to be the end times. Now let us remember that Christ spoke in parables and metaphors more than he spoke directly. You will eat my flesh and drink my blood. No be vampire be that.
I know.
You understand what I'm saying? John chapter 6.
Yeah.
Until you are able to eat my flesh. John chapter 4. I will give you a kind of water that you will never thirst again. If you follow Christ from here till tomorrow, you will still thirst. Will you not thirst? So he's not talking about water and thirst. He is metaphorically, allegorically explaining things that have deeper meanings. Christ did not speak metaphorically 2%. Christ spoke at least 70 to 80% metaphorically. You understand what I'm saying? How do you now take Matthew 24 as literal? How do you interpret it as literal? Because somebody had a dream, somebody's niece had a dream. And then the dream made so much sense. They now go into Revelation and create a univocality that lends credence to their presuppositions. The dream gave you a, oh wow, from this dream we have a rapture. So we are presupposing that there's going to be a rapture. We are now going to look in the Bible to select for Bible verses that are going to allude to that presupposition. So we're going to go into the book of Revelation. We're going to go into 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, where people get caught up. We're going to go to Matthew 24, Matthew 25, when I come at the end times and I'll stand and the whole world will see me. And I'll select people, pantata ethne, according to all nations. And I'll pick only the people who took care of their, you know the story.
Yeah.
So, how do you decipher a poetic book? It starts in the book of Genesis. Until you're able to understand that God did not create the world in 7 days, in 7,000 days, in 7 million days. There is no 7 there except for the number of perfection. The essence of the word 7 is poetic. I don't know if I'm connecting with you. God did not put the sun and the moon to watch over the earth after the earth was created. That's not science. That's not reality. No science journal will tell you that the earth was created before the sun. And worst case scenario, that there were plants growing on the earth before the sun. You understand? So you need to understand and be able to relate with the imagery of that day and time, the pain people were going through, what they were trying to pass on from one generation to the other, what they were trying to explain to one another, what they were trying to arrive at with their ideology. Only then can you flawlessly begin to decipher what the Bible really says. Somebody said, Daddy Freeze, Nigerians can never connect with this. That's not my fault. You can't blame me for being stupid. If you're stupid, it's on you. The joke is on you. The joke is on you. The way you believe that the rapture is going to happen, of course this world is going to end at one stage or the other. It is not now. Even if somebody drops an NBOMB on another person, the whole world will not end. Yes, at the end of the day, the sun will fizzle out and the world will end, but it is not in your lifetime or your children's lifetime or your grandchildren's lifetime or your great-grandchildren's lifetime. Rest. And the coming back of Christ, I don't know if it is metaphorical or literal. I don't know if Christ is going to come, because I'm worried if he comes back again, they will crucify him a second time. If he came back the way he came back the first time, they will crucify him again. If he comes back 5 times, they will put him on crosses 5 separate times. Because the people are not ready to hear the truth. The people don't want truth. Someone said, but scientifically, there are exoplanets that revolve around their stars, but are pied stars. If the stars are pied, they will not have life. They might revolve around the star that has gravity and all that. I don't know, maybe, but it will not have life. If the star is not alive, how do you generate light? I knew about Emperor Nero. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But Dave,
Yes, go ahead.
do you think that Matthew 24,
Yes.
because of the things that Yahushua talked about, and we're beginning to see some of these things in real life?
Some of which
do you
things?
think that's why people
Some of which things?
Yeah.
Some of which
Like
things?
the false prophets.
They've always been false prophets. They've always been. Every year. Earthquakes. The earthquakes we have now cannot compare to the earthquakes we had 800 years ago. Many of the mountains that erupted then are dormant now. So you are not seeing anything. There's no sign you are seeing that they did not see 100 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago. Say that again?
Yeah. But I mean,
Okay.
I agree. I'm just saying that, of course, these people were not alive that period, and obviously don't have that knowledge. They don't have this knowledge.
Yeah.
So when they see things like that, when they see these things happen, they immediately refer it to this particular chapter and say, oh, well, some of the
there will be wars and
that
rumors of
Christ
wars.
talked about.
Let me tell you something. I think we need to have a longer time to study this. Let me run now. Let me tell you something.
Okay.
Yeah. COVID probably took 0.1. I'm not sure it took up to 1% of the world population. Go and read about the bubonic plague. The bubonic plague wiped out like 30% of the world. Same thing with smallpox. You understand? So if you are seeing COVID now and you are panicking, what about the influenza? The influenza wiped out, the Spanish influenza wiped out like 20% of the world. The Spanish flu. You understand? About 20% of the world. And the world did not end. So there's nothing you are seeing in this generation that is new. The First World War did not end the world. The Second World War did not end the world. This small thing that they are playing with themselves in RUS and UKR and ISR and PAL is child's play. You understand? So the more what you do is you are presupposing. You are believing, you did not read the Bible in isolation of your parental doctrine. You read the Bible to presuppose your parental. You did not go to the Bible to read it. You went to the Bible to see that those things they thought you were there.
Yeah.
And when they are not there, you make them come there. So you now start univocalizing Revelation and 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. You start bringing them together to start making some sort of sense to allude to your presuppositions. Do you understand?
Yeah.
The theory of rapture came about in very questionable circumstances. And is no biblical scholar that is of repute. I'm not talking about those that went to get PhD in theology just so that they can go and carry their presupposition and insert it there and say it was there. And that is why you need to agree that the book of Revelation, the book of Genesis, does not talk about a physical creation. It is a poetic creation. Until you can come to terms, as long as you believe that the God created the light and 4 days later he created the sun, not only are you foolish, you are saying what the Bible did not want to say. You are giving a literal meaning to an allegorical and metaphorical device. Somebody said, so maybe the sun was a white star initially and let there be light is the helium and nitrogen. Once again, you are presupposing that the nonsense they taught you was right. So if you are talking about this planet that was orbiting a white dwarf, so let's imagine the white dwarf comes alive. As it is spinning around on its axis, you'll be having day and night. That white dwarf will be your sun, Abi. You still cannot have day and night without that sun. Bro, any other meaning apart from allegorical and metaphorical for the book of Genesis, you will end up in trouble. That's how you believe that Esther once existed. The book of Esther is fiction. I studied Persian history. There is no evidence of it in Persian history. It is pure fiction. Animal Farm and the book of Esther are similar. Allegories, metaphors, fiction. If you tell me the book of Esther was real because she's in the Bible, I can tell you that Spider-Man is real because he's inside a comic. It's this exact same thing.
I think people also need to know that the Bible can sometimes be descriptive and prescriptive. So when you're reading, you need to be sure of which one it is. Like, for instance, King David went and he took someone's wife by the husband. That is descriptive. It is not prescriptive. So it is not saying that you should do it. It's just describing what he did. So...
Which is true.
I mean, yeah.
Which is very true, because the Bible is, you see, in the Free Nation we teach you, there is the literal, moral, allegorical, and anagogical meaning.
Yeah.
What is moral cannot be interpreted literal. Even if he said David, even if David existed, that doesn't mean that particular story existed. Because sometimes the Bible is using David's time to tell a moral lesson. What David did. Sleeping with the woman was not the problem. Because God said, if you had wanted more women, you could have told me. The problem was stealing somebody's woman and buying the person. That was the crime there. So you need to also understand that the setting in which it occurred also determined what was a crime and what was not. You understand? God said to David, if you had wanted more, I would have given you more. So when you read it today in today's world, where you are taught one man, one woman, according to the European standards, you think that because David fornicated, God could not be bothered about. He was a king. God said to him, he said, I gave you your master's wives unto your bosom. What did he expect David to be doing with his master's wives? To be plucking his chest hair? Do you understand what I'm saying? So you also need to understand the context of scripture. Who was it said to? When was it said? Why was it said? If you do not, like I tell people, a man sleeping with, like me, I am married. If I sleep with you, biblically is not adultery. Because adultery carries the death penalty, the death penalty. It is only adultery if you have been engaged to another man or married to another man. That is when it becomes adultery. Because according to... Sorry?
What will it be for me? Sorry for interrupting.
It will be
What
a
will it be for
misdemeanor.
me? Right.
A slap
It's
on
not
the wrist for both of
fornication,
us. It's not no such thing as funny. It will be
then.
frowned upon. And if you are unmarried, I can have you as a concubine. There was nothing wrong with concubinage. As long as you don't belong to another man. David had concubines, Solomon had concubines. I like you, I like you. It starts like that. It's simple. Sometimes women also carry their friends and give their husbands. Like Leah gave her maid to Jacob and said, yeah, be sleeping with her and have children. Then Rachel also went and took her own maid and gave Jacob. At no point did Jacob fornicate. If Leah now went outside and slept with another man, then it becomes adultery. And then the why penalty comes into play. I'm not saying it is right. I am saying according to those times which we are no longer under, it was okay to have concubines. It's not okay to have concubines now. Or I do not support a man having concubines now.
People you can hear.
But you also need to understand, because when they say he committed adultery according to Nigerian law is different from adultery according to biblical law. According to the Bible, only a married or betrothed woman can commit adultery. A married man can take another wife or a concubine. Just as simple as that. So when you now go to the Bible for recommendation, when you go to the book of Isaiah, the laws operating during the time of Isaiah are not the laws operating now. What David did, David had danced. You look at David dance and that one sweets you. Oh, David. If you do 1% of what David did, they will don't buy you by now.
Of course.
1%. So JLo has a question and I'm rushing off. Yeah, JLo, real quick, ask your question. I'm ending now.
Yes, because of what we read about the author of the book of Revelation, why did they not include it in the Bible? That is my own
Thank you
question.
very much.
I mean,
The
if
book
it is
of
just
Enoch,
an author
the book of
that-
Enoch was removed because it fell out of favor, while the book of Revelation remained. Now, Google this. Martin Luther wanted to remove Revelation. He also wanted to remove the book of James, because James does not allude to the theory that by grace alone you are saved. James added faith without work. Now, when you hear faith without work, you think that me praying without working. No, faith without the works of the law. Many things have been misinterpreted, and you see, anybody has a problem, he goes to the Bible ministers to his problem. That Paul started that nonsense. For you to interpret the Quran, you need a scholar that understands the Quran, that will explain to you that this is this and this and this and this, and according to this and this and this hadith, this and this and this. Any fool can pick up the Bible, open to the book of Isaiah, read one nonsense, minister it into his life, and be going on. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just Google it. Just spend your time this evening and Google Revelation Emperor Nero, John of Patmos. You will see the whole is available for anybody to see.
Gabe, can I read this? It's quite interesting. It says,
real quick.
When Martin Luther first translated and published the New Testament, he thought that that Revelation should not have the same status or authority as the Gospels or the letters of Paul or Peter. Okay, so he puts it at the end and didn't number it.
I told you. See,
So I just felt they politicized the Bible, like.
Now they wake. They
did.
turned the devil to God.
100%.
They turned Lucifer to the devil. And there is nowhere in the Bible where Lucifer and the devil were in the same sentence. At best, you have Lucifer and the king of Babylon, who was not a devil, who was at one time God's deputy. So until you are ready to understand the proper structure of the Bible, we will continue making mistakes. God bless you. Let me run. I didn't plan to stay this long.
Thank you.